Hi, everyone. Thanks for stopping by the My Reader Minutes. I just wanted to take a few minutes to give you my 2 cents on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, I know that a lot of us are not watching Love and Marriage Huntsville anymore, but those of us that are still watching it, I still like to make my commentary on the episodes. And I don't really review the show as much as I used to, but every now and again, I'll see something that I just want to talk about. This past episode was about pretty much Scott 1 and 2.0 accompanying actually Destiny to Detroit as she connects with her siblings in her hometown. And I think what she said, she has 6 brothers and sisters. All of them, I think there are a total of 8 of them, but her brother that she grew up with passed away. And they are all meeting in Detroit to actually talk to their mom. Well, the ones that want to talk to their mom. There was a brother, I think his name was Jesse, that made it apparent that he didn't really have much to say to her. And I can respect that. You know, she gave him up for adoption. Their mother has been in an addiction state and has probably not always been able to provide for them or to give them what they need to flourish, right? There was a sister that Destiny, I think, is close with that she never had met her. It was interesting. It was interesting meet, okay? All I have to say is I'd like the storyline for Destiny. It does take away, it seems more genuine. I don't know. It's a storyline, right? And it seems more genuine than the ones that we were looking at as far as her dating all the single men on the show. That to me was made up and crazy, and it didn't put her in a good light. This now is a good storyline, but I don't want the show to lose focus on the growth of Destiny, because we want to see Destiny be a single parent. We want to see Destiny thrive in her business or businesses, like whether she wants to be a realtor, a podcaster, or a candle maker. I mean, we don't, she's got a little bit of everything going on here, right? Let's not lose sight of that, even though we know that it's probably not much going on or not a whole lot of growth going on in the entrepreneurial sector of her life. Let's not lose sight of that. However, I feel like a good pivot is to her reconnecting with her siblings that she's never met or never really gotten, to know. And to also for them to try to establish or engage in some type of conversation with their mother, if it's warranted. Okay? Based on the interaction that we saw, I don't know how far they're going to go with that. Only because Rhonda, is her name Rhonda Jo or Rhonda Lee? I don't know. We're just going to call her Rhonda, who's the mother. Again, she looked like, or might be still in that addictive state. It came across that I guess Destiny is not out of touch with her mother, because evidently, they've had conversations, because her mom said that Destiny was supposed to help her get a place. I don't know how much help Destiny was going to be, because Destiny has a lot going on herself. I mean, I get, when people see you on TV, they think you make all this money, you're doing all these things, you're wearing all the labels and things, and it looks like you might be able to, share a few shillings. I don't know if Destiny's in that situation enough to help her mother. Now, her mother's like, well, all I need for her to do is get me a place, and I can pay my own rent. Really? I don't know if I would be so trusting for Rhonda. And you can't go by looks. You shouldn't go by looks. However, I don't know. I would have to see some valid proof that Rhonda would be able to maintain anything that I help her get. I feel like when she means help her get something, mean putting in my name.
so she can live somewhere. Even though right now she's living in a house, I don't know who she's living with. I don't know if she's living in she's renting a room, or maybe she's renting a room and she's in a house. I don't know. But evidently she doesn't want to be there, right? And she wants Destiny to help her get a place. Well, Destiny has to help her own self first and foremost. And Destiny should have said that. Said, Mom, I plan to do that. That's my goal. But let me get established first. Like, where's Destiny living? We don't know. We ain't never seen Destiny. Destiny don't never film in her home. Where is she living? All we saw was a storage place, a storage shelter, storage bin, where she was going to set up as her brick and mortar. I mean, that's all we've seen in the past couple of years. So let's look at where Destiny lives. Let's look at where Destiny's at. When Destiny films, she's always out. They're always out eating, or she's over someone else's house. Let's see if Destiny even has a place first. I'm just saying, based on what I remember seeing, I don't remember Destiny being anywhere. Also, this episode focused on 1.0, 2.0, visiting their hometown. Well, let's just say Marceau and Maurice going back to Pontiac, which is outside of Detroit. They're not really from Detroit. They're not from the D. They are from Pontiac. And they meet up with their Uncle Rick, I want to say, and their dad. And it seems like, I don't know, they went to visit where Uncle Rick lives. I guess he has this workshop where people can, come and learn a trade. And he's giving back to the community that way. And evidently he's been in it for years. I don't know, their dad was there, but he didn't seem like he really wanted to be. And his attitude was really piss poor. I mean, he was looking up in the air. He was like he didn't really feel like he wanted to be there. And supposedly him and Rick were good friends at one particular time. Doesn't seem like they are too much now. I wonder if it has to do with a woman. Usually stuff like that either has to do with a woman or money. One of the two. But we'll find out, I'm sure. It sounds as though that Maurice and Marceau's father may have been incarcerated at one point. I'm not sure how long, right? He had been incarcerated, because in the dialogue between their father, Kimmy, and Tisha, he basically said that, he was talking about work, and he said he did a lot of work. He was never really in the home, right? And I guess when he wasn't in the home, he was incarcerated, so he was never there. And he said his kids act like they never really knew him. So who was putting the lock on the refrigerator that they couldn't eat? I'm just saying. They knew him enough to know that he was the guy that was locking the refrigerator, and they couldn't eat what they wanted to eat when they wanted to eat. They knew him enough then. So somebody help me with that. Because the way that Maurice was telling his story to the counselors, and again, I don't know how true or accurate that story was, because I think he's just looking for an excuse to justify his assholeness, okay? That his father put a lock on the door, and they couldn't eat when they wanted to, because they had to ration out the food because their family was really, really big. I don't know how long did that last, that they couldn't eat because the lock was on the door, because it sounds like he was never home when he was working. And I guess when he was around, when he wasn't around, he was incarcerated. So they need to give me a timeline. I feel like the timeline is necessary here. For all the other stories to fall in place, we need a timeline, right? Yeah, that's an interesting storyline. So it sounds like at the end of the day, Destiny, Scott's 1.0 and 2.0 have learned how to pivot so that everything in the storylines don't focus on their lives totally, where people can't critique them about how maybe unsuccessful they might be being versus whether on relationship front, whether on the business front. Now we're looking at family. Well, if you think we're screwed up, look at them. As far as Destiny is concerned, you think I'm crazy, and I don't know what I don't know where my head's at because I'm dating this one, that one, that one, and that one. Look it over here. Don't look at me over here. Look at this over here. This is where I came from. Look at her. And these are these are all her children who I needed to get along with, who I need to learn, who I need to develop a relationship with. Let's talk about what I need to do on the family front. Let's look at this over here. And then Scott 1.0 and 2.0, they're like, look at this over here. Look at Uncle Rick. Uncle Rick is a positive role model. This is what he does. And he gives back to community. And he teaches people a trade, people that maybe are unemployed or maybe are coming out of incarceration or what have you, so they can earn a living and take care of their families. And then look where we came from. This is our father. Don't look at us. Look at them. I feel like that's where we're going with this. I mean, it's a good change. And sometimes we need a background, right? To see why people maybe are the way they are. We don't, you know what I'm saying? You know, they can't pivot to Mel and Martell anymore because that's what the first 5 or 6 seasons were about. Martell and Melody. Don't look at us, look at them. Wow. Tell me what you think. I'm going to look at it again. Tonight they're still, I think, in Detroit or Pontiac, so we'll probably wrap up the storylines and they'll move back. I think they tried to pivot to Ken and Tisha. Ken and Trish, I'm sorry. Ken and Trish. But we're tired of Ken and Trish. We already know they can make their own spinoff, but I really don't care nothing about them anymore because I can't watch Trisha too long on the tube. I can't. I think if it was more about her kids, I could deal with that because that kind of softens her a little bit. But other than that, I really don't care nothing about Trisha and Ken and what they're going through. You know, they're both train wrecks that have collided and they're locked together and they cannot get apart. So, yeah, I think going back to Alabama, we're going to see a pivot to Ken and Trish. We're going to focus on Ken and Trish being other people's DMs because we don't want to focus on ourselves. We got to pivot. We need somebody to pivot to. So, there's that. And it's free actors. Okay? We don't have to pay these people because they're just going to be excited about being on TV and in an episode. So, Carlos is a win for him too. So, there's that. Y'all, tell me what you think. I didn't go over this, this scene, that scene. I just wanted to give you my opinion on Destiny's storyline, where I feel like the show is going, and why I think it's going the way that it is going. That being said, everyone be blessed. Peace.